So a couple weeks ago I made a video where I was making fun of a German language book called Die Känguru-Chroniken. And so as it turns out, in 2020, it was made into a movie. And even though I was kind of dismissive of the book, this book is the devil. I've got basically nothing else to do in my life, so I thought, let's give it a watch. And unfortunately, as I expected, it's kind of trash. I think the main problem with the movie as a whole is the structure of it. I remember reading that Marc-Uwe Kling, the author of the original book, was really inspired by Calvin and Hobbes. And it kind of shows in the way that the original book is actually written, in that it's these small episodic stories that really only last like a page or so for most of them. And they kind of feel like comics. They kind of feel like a daily cartoon in that it's really just setup and punchline. And that doesn't really translate well to a full 90-minute movie because you can't end the jokes. You know, one joke has to lead into another because there has to be a plot. And so when the joke hits the punchline, there's always this awkward part in the scene where then it just keeps going as they try and string along to the next one. And it's just obvious that it ruins the whole pacing. That would be fine if the plot was good, but the plot is really unspecial. It's kind of what you would assume to be, we had this short form thing and now we need to make it into a long form thing. It's a really basic plot of, oh, this villain is threatening the neighborhood. And while that's not bad in itself, it's okay if you want to hang the jokes onto the plot and have something to just weakly string them together. But the problem is the jokes don't work in this format, so you've got a bad plot hanging jokes that don't really work onto it, and the whole thing just never really takes off. When I first saw the movie, I was like, I don't know, who's this villain, what are they doing, why should I care about them? And so I guess what I had missed is that he actually appears in the later books. But even then, he just seems like something of a no-name. Why would I care about him? If I'm watching this movie, I want to see the kangaroo, and I want to see Marc-Uwe's character. And the kangaroo just doesn't have anything to do in this movie. Like, in the book, the thing that works about the kangaroo is that it's a critique or making fun of flat sharing. It's making fun of having a shitty roommate. And so you'd expect the kangaroo to be a bad roommate, but really he's not in the movie. There's almost no actual conflict between the Marc-Uwe character and the kangaroo himself. And as a result, there's not really any difference between them. Like, okay, maybe the kangaroo is supposed to be the zany one, but then Marc-Uwe is also zany. And they're not antagonists. They argue a bit, but what is the kangaroo supposed to be doing? And I would make a comparison in this movie to The Simpsons almost in a way, where in the book, the kangaroo acts almost as like a Bart Simpson sort of character, where he is intentionally malicious against his flatmate Marc-Uwe. And in this movie, he's more of a Homer Simpson, where he's unintentionally malicious. He doesn't really do as much on his own, and he doesn't really guide his own actions. He's just kind of there for the ride, and that doesn't really support any of the jokes. And then, of course, that brings us to, what's with all these other characters? Like, none of them appear in the first book. Maybe they appear in later books. I don't know. I haven't read them. But they just seem really superfluous. It's like a one-note thing of, oh, she's the pub landlord and she's hard. Okay? Oh, she's the generic love interest, or, they are immigrants. Like, it just seems to be, this is the one thing we have for these characters. And, it's like, it just seems really perfunctory. Like, why do you have the character if you're not really interested in having the character? They don't really have anything to do. They only appear in crowd shots. And so why was it? Was it to make the world seem bigger than just your two leads? But then why not just have it be entirely centered around the two leads?
Dimitri Shad and Marc-Uwe Kling.
Which actually, that's not too much of a criticism, because the two leads are the best part of the movie. The kangaroo's good, Marc-Uwe's character is good. Like, they're both, the most fun parts to watch, and they have very good chemistry. And so it's baffling that they don't focus more on that they don't make it more of a conflict between the two because they don't have much opportunity to play off of each other. The CGI is what it is. The kangaroo has to be entirely CGI, and you can tell they tried. It's nice that they did. It doesn't look great, but well, you can tell that they were trying to go for something that was purposefully unrealistic, but at the same time, like, it just doesn't look great. And so I feel like they shouldn't have tried almost. They put all the resources into the kangaroo and not really worry about CGI for any of it. But that's what they went for, and so that's what we got.
Surely people must have cared about this movie, though. It has over 1.1 million views on its trailer.
Also, can I just say, what the fuck is up with the sound on this DVD? I know that they put it as Dolby Digital 5.1, but the entire time that I was watching this with headphones, all of the music is entirely in the right ear, all of the dialogue is entirely in the left ear, and it's the worst experience ever. You can't change the audio to anything else without closed captioning. I don't know why they chose that.